Hello, my name is Maristo and I am from Annantalo's Art Center. I am an art educator. I teach theater there. And next I'm going to tell you about the project Art Field Journeys into the Future. So I'm going to talk about the wings of the bicycle you mentioned before. Okay. In this project, the future studies and prediction with art education were combined. And as a result, a learning material, Art Field Journeys into the Future, was made. And next I'm going to talk about what is futures literature, what the learning material consists of, and what potential there are when art education and future studies are combined. Few words about the background of this project. In 2019, Annantalo and the Future School worked together to produce Futures Laboratory, tulevaisuuslaboratorio concept. And the concept was created by teachers Elina Rantasua, Ilpo Rybatski, and Kati Karvonen, and visual artist Nestori Syrjälä, and future researchers Otto Tähkäpää. It was a kind of learning space and exhibition at the same time, and it's in this picture. When Futures Laboratory was made, Annantalo's art teachers, Elina Rantasua, Elisa Sorvali, me, with Ilpo Rybatski, we planned and implemented workshop where we combined art education and the methods of future studies and prediction. And as a result, we made this learning material, Art Field Journeys into the Future. And the learning material provides teachers with tools and sample exercises for studying futures and developing futures-oriented thinking through art education. Pedagogically speaking, these materials are based on the concept of futures literature. And it means person's ability to use future in the present. It is a skill that can be learned and developed. And as a cognitive skill, it consists of several areas, for example, creative and critical thinking, the ability to imagine alternative futures, identifying dynamics that shapes the future. And also holistic and systematic thinking, in which artistic studies have an essential role. The goal of developing future literature is strengthening individuals' ability to cope with changes, as well as their proactive relationship with the future, which means their ability and desire to make the change in the desired direction. When we are talking about the future, it's important to emphasize that the future is not a single predeterminate path. Instead, there are many alternative outlooks, and the realization of which we can influence in the present with the decisions we make. And this idea can be structured with three premises of future studies, and they are: the future cannot be predicted, the future is not predetermined, and the future can be influenced. And these premises are an important background attitude in this material and when we worked in these workshops. Then, why it's interesting to combine art education with future studies? In the age of environmental crisis, art has a critical role in all of society. as we have heard today. We cannot solve difficult problems using the same kind of thinking we have created them in the first place. We need to expand our view of the future and stretch the limits of our imagination. And I feel that this is the main thing that we have worked with in these workshops and in this learning material, stretching the limits of our imagination. Building a sustainable future requires the ability to dream of radically different realities. And art has the ability to point elsewhere and shake up conventions. And strengthening futures literature means supporting transformative learning that aims for change. And through this type of learning, we can question norms, roles, identities, and the whole concept of what is normal. And this kind of attitude is very characteristic for arts, I think. And in art education, of course, we already have some tools to practice imagination. For instance, improvisation methods in theater. And my experience is that art-based working generates idea in its own special way. And it has something to do with a holistic way of doing. About the learning material. It consists of 2 sections. First is Introduction to Futures Thinking, which you have already heard today. And second is 2 workshops, Future Food and Future Work. And here you can see also Teli Future, who is the main character of the material. And I think Teli has an important role in these materials because Teli leads us in the stories and in these themes. Then about the workshops. First workshop was about future food. And there we think, there you can think about the future and potential changes to food and its productions. It was about discussion, imaginary journey, which was a story that led us into this theme. And this story includes material also from the future studies, for example, weak signals. Then we had drama activities and visual art working. And after these warm-up exercises, students planned a future dish with recycled materials and mixed techniques. And here you can see one example. And the goal was to invent new sustainable foods for future. Second workshop was about future work. The main questions were, what kind of an adult would you like to be in the future? What kinds of professions will we need in the future? What is the future job of your dreams? And there we had also discussion, imaginary journey, and drama activity, dressing up as a character and role play. Those were in a big part of this workshop. Everyone planned or created their own character who had some future work and profession. And then we had some interview with those characters. Both of these workshops are based on positive future thinking, and imagination plays a major role here. Then, during the years 2020 and 21, we continued this project. A group of Annantalo's art teachers did a new material, and it was made for early childhood education. art field journeys into the future too. And this material consists of 5 different workshops for preschooler. And it supports the curriculum for the preschool. Art educators from different art fields did work in pairs. We had dance, graphic arts, theater, puppet theater, and visual arts. And the combinations were really interesting. For instance, graphic arts and dance. Yeah. And here you can see one pair of eyeglasses for the future, and they will help you to imagine the future. Then, what was important for us when we were working with these themes? Of course, focusing on children's ideas to support a permissive atmosphere. That's a vital thing here. Because the themes that handle the future might be also new for adults. How to practice imagination? I feel that this is the main question I have worked with. And we found that without some inspiration material, it might be hard to imagine future and imagine anything. And it was very useful to use, for example, these weak signals from future studies that inspired our to imagine forward. And then limits. It's easier to imagine if you have a certain limits or a specific question, for instance, future food, then the whole future. And then pedagogical responsibility. When we are talking about future, it's important to have this pedagogical responsibility because it might raise up all kind of emotions and worries. It's important to remember that the goal is to strengthen children's and young people's faith in the future and broaden their perspective on the world. The goal is to strengthen children and young people's faith in that we can influence in the future and the realization of what will happen. And my experience of this workshop was that there was a very playful atmosphere, and I feel that that's a very good ground to handle this kind of themes. And you can find these materials or these art field journeys into the future. One, it's in Finnish, English, and Swedish. You can find it at Kultus. And these art field journeys into the future too will be also at least at Annantalo's website in the future. Okay, thank you.
So, hello everyone. Thank you for inviting us here to present our experiences with non-toxic colors and farming our own painting materials. We are from Pori, Children's Culture Center, Kruunupää, and my name is Sanna Pajunen-Kyynäräinen. I'm a Master of Fine Arts and advisor of an early childhood art activities. And here with me is also...
Hello everyone, my name is Annina Jansson and I also come from Kruunupää. I'm a visual artist and colleague of Sanna's.
Yeah. So, this presentation is about the safe and non-toxic materials in experiential color workshop for babies, and it's part of the Sustainable Children Culture Manual. So, let's start with a few words of a method called the Experimental Color Workshop for Babies. In Pori Center for Children's Culture was invented these workshops at 2003 The color workshop for babies combines an art, interaction, and very early childhood. And here are our basic principles. Being in the moment, interactive activity, actor-focused work, and the multisensory experientiality and experimentality of colors and materials. The color workshop for babies respects the visual expressions by babies, understands the importance of a babyhood, and the safetiness of the workshops. Because we offer workshops for 4-month-old babies up to 5-year-old children, all action have to base on safe materials and on understanding participants' age levels and everybody's possibilities and abilities to work in. To protect the fragileness of babies, quality of the action and importance of safetiness of all participants, we are offering the mentor training for this method in Pori Center for Children's Culture. By this far, this method has spread in Finland and in other countries as well. Like you see in the picture, all elements of the action aim entice the participants to experiment and explore together. There's an encouragement and courage to try and do things concretely. In the color workshop for babies, there is a holistical corporeal approach to colors and materials. The haptic and multisensory play with the colors, paint and other materials gives the pleasure for babies and their families. The enjoyment and joy of doing opens up through the senses. You can freely see, hear, sense, smell and taste all the materials and colors. So the paints we use in the workshops are most of all food stuff. We need to know how to produce different berries, fruits and vegetables into the paintable forms. It's always good if ingredients are organic, but they always have to be non-toxic and allergic-free, designed for each group individually. We also aim to minimize all material waste to produce just a needed amount for every group. Using the food-based colors, we also need to protect the rich pigments and interesting texture of the paint itself. Some of the colors are easy to find and use, but few of them are a bit harder to find as a safe and non-toxic forms. That's why we came to the decision to farm our own pigments. Annina here will tell you more about our flower planting processes from the field to the paintings.
Thank you. Ja, mistä tämä menee eteenpäin? Siitä. Okay, thank you, Sanna. And thank you for having us here. Well, at the beginning, I'm going to be telling something about the names of our projects and how they mean, what they sound in Finnish and how they sound in English. So our projects were called Väripelto, that is translated as a color field, and Värikylvö, that translates into color planting, and Väripalsta is translated to color patch, something like that. So, but for now on, I'm going to speak them with their Finnish names, so that's easier. Yes, so the first project that we did was called Värikylvö in 2018. And the idea was bring babies and families and different communities together to this one planting box. And the idea was plant flowers together with babies and their families and create joy and grow flowers together. And the idea was also create small environment art piece with blue color. allowing the babies and the families take part of planting and taking care of the flowers. And most important with all of this was to create this tricky blue that were really difficult for us to use in color workshop for babies. So we decided to take part of this farming project. The color blue is difficult because you cannot find it in nature in a non-toxic way, on easy way. So we studied the subject and we found eatable flowers. And we get really excited about the subject. So how we are going to have access to these flowers, and then we decided there are no other choices, that we have to just start farming it by ourselves. And that leads us to be the farmers. Yeah, and all flowers that we have grown are non-toxic and they have cultivated without chemicals. Here are some pictures about the first project, small and humble harvest, but also how you can use the flower as they are. We use those flowers with the babies as they are on those flower shape, and of course we made pigments about them, and also you can use this as a painting material also within ice. So our fields just keep growing, and the next year we decided that we need to have more of these flowers so we can really use them with babies in the color workshop for babies. Usually in weekly we have 60 or even 8 families taking part of our daily based workshops, so we need lots of flowers. And we connected with the Korkeaoja Organic Farm, and we decided to cooperate with them. So, and we had full field full of cornflowers. And so the varipelto was born, and it was successful with the blue color. So here you can see the harvest. We had to pick up all the flowers, and it was lots of work, but it was all worth it. And 2020, we decided to farm it again, and in Korkeaoja, but this time we wanted to put some orange color also, and we cultivated this glendulas or marigold with cornflower too. So our project like grows and grows. So, and here are the picture how we are handling the material afterwards when we have picked them. Yeah, but at the same year also we did a smaller project with the Pori city gardeners that was called Väripalsta. And maybe here were the picture about Väripalsta when it's just about to begin. And 2020 was a bit tricky year for all of us. So what we decided to do with all the flowers, we had several artistic performances in the city of Pori, and we share all the flowers that were created on that field. I can maybe show you a picture from the color patch, Väripalsta, and the performances also. Yeah. And now, 2021, we are planning a new project all over Satakunta region, and let's see what is gonna be, what is happening, and maybe somewhere else. We don't maybe know it yet. So if you get excited about, please let me know, and let's talk about it. And the idea for this year is to connect environmental art, poetry, flowers, children culture, environment values, and the point of view is creating joy to its surroundings and people passing by, and also create more flower fields, and maybe more bees could have work to be done. So there are many different levels that how you can see this project, on environmentally or in artistic way or children culture way. So yes, well, but thank you.
Yeah, now we have blue colors.
Yes.
And actually we brought a couple examples with us, so if you are interested, come to us and we can show you. We have there a couple bags of this cornflower blue there, so maybe you can take a handful of flowers from this meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.